Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me. This is Barbara from Vienna, Austria, and today's Junk Journal with Me episode is very much inspired by Nina Ribena, whose video I will link below. She is a mixed media artist and she made a collage which she calls a masterboard, which she then scans and uses in several ways. So that's what I wanted to do today, and I'm starting off by making this collage using mostly vintage papers that I have from the flea market and from Goodwill, and also from some of the Instagram shops that I buy vintage ephemera from, and I will link those shops below as well in case you are interested. So what I'm doing here is I am trying to just puzzle together one A4 sheet of, I think this was 160 GSM paper that I'm using as a background. And what I'm doing differently to my usual collages and what was inspired by Nina was that I am adding some colorful scrapbook paper as well into the background, because usually I would just make neutral backgrounds and then add my focal points on top, but this time I'm also adding some colored but some coordinated colored scrapbook pieces. As you can see here, I kind of tried to stay within one family of colors, and this will just help the piece look more cohesive. And it's kind of like did you ever play the game Tetris? It kind of reminded me of Tetris, just trying to fill the whole page with different shaped papers. and it's really a lot of fun to do. So I almost have everything covered now. There's just one little hole there which I wanted to cover, which is there. And lastly, I wanted to change the stamp of that envelope that I used, so I'm gonna put that one on instead. And this time I actually made a photo with my iPad. I don't know why I've never thought of that before, because I can't use my phone because I'm filming with it. So when you do this at home, it's always great to take a picture, because otherwise you will forget where your pieces are supposed to go when you start gluing down. So now everything has been glued down with a glue stick, and I wanted to add some stamping as well, and I'm using these two stamps with my red ladybug ink from Memento. I have some inks, some of these ink drops linked below as well in my Amazon affiliate links. I love these Memento drops. They are permanent inks. And now here you see what it looks like when I have the stamps added. And finally, I'm going to ink around the edges. And the next step then is to scan and print this. And you will see my printer totally changed the colors when you look in comparison. But that's okay. I like those colors that were printed as well. So I'm going to use this now to cut up into different pieces to use in my journal. And this is such a great way to do, because you can keep using the same collage in different ways by adding different things, like different focal points on top of it, and by cutting it in different ways. So this was really a great idea, and I think I will be doing this more often. So the first piece I wanted to make was a big tag, and I've just cut a piece of my A4 paper, and I'm now cutting the top corners to form into a tag, and the easiest way to do that is to just cut one corner and then flip that piece around and cut the same shape on the other corner. And as a focal point for this tag, I wanted to use a bird, and I have these pre-fussy cut birds from a vintage book that I got from Goodwill, and I have those all ready to go. So if you ever are just watching TV or something, it's great to just take a book that you don't mind cutting into and then cutting out some birds. So here I kind of struggling to find the right bird, because several of these would have worked really well. In the end I went for this one because it was a great pop of color, which I felt like at that time. So after inking that up, I also wanted to add a word or a sentiment, and I found all of these cutouts that I've had for years actually, and I think most of these are from some sort of magazines. Like this type definitely looks like Daphne's Diary type, and I'm not sure where I got the others from, but these are always great to just have around. And here I'm just trying different versions. And I think I like the adventure best, so I'm just straightening that top edge. And then I have these stamps, these are already stamped, obviously. I have purchased some vintage wooden stamps from my friend Allison in the States, and so I have these numbers, which I think are beautiful. There's no particular reason for this particular number. I just really enjoy how numbers look. So I think that's a great addition to the tag. And I'm also adding a piece of white linen as a backdrop to this adventure word, because it gives a nice additional texture, and it also kind of frames it to stand out a little bit more. So now all these elements are glued down, and I'm going to punch a hole in the top, and I'm going to add one of my how should I say, dyed reinforcement rings. Just dyed it with my vintage photo, and now I'm trying to find a ribbon. And actually all of these ribbons that I'm trying here would have worked, but there is one that I like best because it's just I guess the brightest color, which is what I just enjoyed at that moment, and that's this one with the pink and peach. This was a ribbon I received from Miyuki quite a long time ago. So these are 3 different cuts from fabrics, which is such a great idea. Yeah, and I just threaded those through, and that is what that looks like, and I really enjoy how this tag looks. And now we're going to see how we can add it to my No Sew Junk Journal. Looking for the right page. And I like this one on the left because I love how the 2 yellows on the 2 pages now work together. And I still have this cut off from the bottom, which I'm going to turn around, ink up, and use as a tuck spot. So I'm just using my tacky glue to glue 2 of those sides. And that's a perfect tuck spot. And I did want to add some more decoration on that tuck spot, so I'm going through my ephemera folder, which I will link down below again as well in case you want to see how I made that. And I'm choosing some bits that have strong color. So I'm using some red here, and I'm gonna see what will work best. So the doily was a bit too much, but I love this red label that came in a Happy Mail, and I'm just trimming that all the way around. And after inking it up, I wanted to add some words there too. So I'm using this rollable stamp. It's a 12-digit stamp. I will link that down below as well. And I am using my Memento Coffee Espresso Truffle ink, and I stamped the word "Spread Your Wings" because I think that worked really well with the tag and the sentiment on the tag. So I just glued everything together, and that is what that looks like, and I love how that turned out, and that is it. And so we have so much left on this card. So actually I printed this on 200 GSM cardstock, white cardstock, so it's ready to go. I don't need to glue it on different cardstock because it is thick enough. And now for this next page, I am adding a tuck spot, which is the whole length of the journal page, and I'm using this circle punch to just punch like a half circle, just to give it a more interesting shape, I guess. And now after inking around that, I also wanted to add just something a little extra where that half circle is, and I just cut out a strip of some avocado dyed paper that I had received from Raisa. So thank you again, Raisa, if you are watching. And I'm using the same circle punch to punch out a little piece of that, and I just had to widen that circle a little bit because otherwise it wouldn't have fit around the other half circle. And this is kind of unnecessary to do, but I just wanted to add a little something extra to that tuck spot. And after inking that up, I'm just going to glue that down with my glue stick. And I'll show you a close-up at a moment how that looks. Yeah, there you go. I don't know, it just adds something extra. And I'm taking advantage of this, of my signatures not being sewed in, by pulling this page out, and I'm going to sew around this little tuck spot. And I'm using some, so I used some green thread just because it was in the sewing machine and I didn't feel like changing it. And on the other side I had this flip out, which I just sewed that one flip out part because I can later then glue that and it will look like I've actually sewn that on. I just did that since I had it there in the machine anyway. So now I am choosing a part to make a journaling card out of, and I'm just measuring how big that can be. So that is what that looks like once it's cut out, and I think it's actually very pretty already as it is. You wouldn't actually need to do anything else to it, but I wanted to add some more collaging to it, and I think that's so great using these because you can then customize them as you like every time differently when you use them. And so I think these are so fun to have around. And so now I wanted to add some floral pieces, or one floral piece, to this journaling card, and I'm going through my stash of fussy cut flowers from another vintage book I had from my Goodwill. So it's so great to have these already in your stash and not having to worry about cutting them out while you're working on a page. This saves you a lot of time. So here I'm auditioning some of the flowers that I thought might work, and there were quite a few that I thought actually would be cute. And I was very heavily contemplating this set of these two. I actually really like those, looking at it now again. But I chose something else in the end. I thought I was going to take this one, but then I found these two other ones which just had much stronger colors, and these are not from a book. These this one here with the double flower was a set that I bought very randomly at a local shop, and the other one, the single rose here, was in a Happy Mail, and both of these would have been great, but I ended up going with these two roses. But I wanted some more of a collage in the background, so I'm gonna take some washi tape, various washi tapes, and just have fun playing with them. This in particular is from Your Creative Studio, which is a subscription box that I receive every month, and they have great vintage ephemera in their boxes. I really love them. I will link them down below in case you want to check them out. And so I'm just gonna play around with some of these washes and try to kind of stay in the same color family mostly, and just try to make it a little more interesting.
Telling secrets in between the sheets. I don't want you to leave. I would fall in a second if you let me. 'Cause you're all that I want, but you let me in. The last drink was the last drink, but I don't wanna leave. I wanna get closer. Don't want this night to be over. Wanna get closer. It's not over. Yeah, we could go back to my place, 'cause I don't wanna waste no precious time. So let's go back to my place. If it's only for tonight, let's make it count. I love it, how your touch feels. I love it, how you look at me in my place. No, I don't wanna waste no precious time. Don't waste no precious time. Go back to my place. Don't waste no precious time. Go back to my place. Don't waste no precious time. Go back to my place. Don't waste no precious time. Go back to my place. I wanna get closer. Don't want this night to be over. Wanna get closer. It's not over. Yeah, we could go back to my place, 'cause I don't wanna waste no precious time. So let's go back to my place. If it's only for tonight, let's make it count. I love it, how your touch feels. I love it, how you look at me in my place. No, I don't wanna waste no precious time.
This washi is one of my favorite washes ever. It's from a Tim Holtz set. I will link that down below as well. And that is the final result. And since I use a lot of washi tape, which does not tend to stick down well over time. I'm using this, what was it called? Deco glue, which is, I guess, another version of a Mod Podge. And I do prefer this one over a Mod Podge because the finish is absolutely matte, which the matte Mod Podge is not. So finally I'm going to add my flour with just my tacky glue. And that is the front of my journaling card, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. And on the back side, I'm going to be journaling about an experiment I just did on that day, which is my first ever 24-hour fast. And I'm just writing my experience with that and what I was going through. And yeah, I've been doing some intermittent fasting since January 1st, and it was going quite well. And my best friend said she was going to try this 24-hour fast, and I said I'll join you. I've never done one, and I just wanted to see if I could do it and what it would be like. And it was actually okay. I had a growling stomach for about 6 hours of that day, but I managed, and yeah, it was okay. I'll probably try it again sometime, or even try a 48-hour fast, just to see if I feel any different. And apparently it has a lot of health benefits, which I would love to experience actually. So if you want to look into this, please do your research before you try something like this so that you can do it in a healthy way. But it was definitely interesting to try. And now I'm just putting another piece of that washi from your creative studio on the tuck spots because I wanted to add a title. So I just put 24-hour fast on that piece there, and that is our second page for today's episode. So I hope this inspired you to do some collaging. And even if you can't scan, if you don't have that option, I mean, you can always go to a copy shop, but if you don't have that option, then just use your original collage. There's so much you can do with these. So thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you back the next time. Bye!